Hi, so we're going to start. We're going to start with any picture of our preference. In case you want to use the same picture, I'm going to leave you the pattern in the comments so you can use it. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to place it on the desk because it could be possible that this one is going to rise a little bit because we're going to wet the paper. You can use 200 GSM or 300 GSM because remember we're going to wet the paper, so it could be possible that you need 300 GSM, but 200 will be enough. We're going to use three different sizes of brushes. One big one, this for the big areas, a middle one, and the small one. The small one is for the details. Any numbers, it will be okay. So I have here my watercolors and I will use the brand Pentel. This one is very, really good and it's not expensive. We have bright colors with this watercolor. And in case you don't know how this watercolor behave, um, I would recommend to use a color chart. In case you want to know how you can do this color chart, you can leave me the comments. This color chart, how you can see here, you can see how you can combine the different colors that you have, and you see how the watercolor it will behave. This one is really, really helpful to know the watercolors. You can do it for any brand that you have. This one is for the Pentel. I have here is a very, really bright colors. And I have another one that is another brand. And you can see that that one is, the colors are more intense and they have a matte finish. So this one is really, really helpful. Uh, so I would recommend for a beginner to do this process first. So we're going to start. So we're going to wet a little bit our first area. That one it will be the ear, and it has to be a light water. It has to be a puddle. It hasn't to be a puddle. I'm sorry. So it will be really, really light. So use a little bit of water and use another little bit more water in case you need it. Remember the first layer for our watercolor, it has to be really, really light. So I don't need my watercolors is the colors are too intense. So I'm going to dip a little bit on the watercolor and I'm going to move it through the ear, and it will, the water that I place at the beginning, that one it will help me to move the watercolor on the area. So remember to have the paper towel near you because the paper towel it will help you to remove all the excess that you have on watercolor. So I'm going to move on the second color. I'm going to move it on the ear. And remember, if you want to move from one color to another one, clean the brush and dip it on a different color. And it's at the beginning, remember, it has to be really, really light. So you can clean the brush in case you have an excess of watercolor. It will be okay. And so we're going to continue to move um, the watercolor on the ear. So remember, this one it has to be really, really light. We're going to work by layers. So the first layer, it will be light. And if you, for example, if you ask, what colors should I use? Um, this one is really by instinct, if you want to call it that way. But for example, my suggestion it will be first, you can place different colors in different areas. If you don't know how, what color you will have, combining the pink with the purple and or the pink um, with the blue, just place it in different areas and remember, let it dry, move it to another area like I'm doing right now, and let it dry. And you can use another color um, after it's dry. In that case, the colors it will layer and it won't mix, because sometimes when we mix some colors, you will have a brown. So if you don't know exactly what colors you will have, that will be a very good idea. Place the colors in different areas, let it dry, and after it will dry, you can apply a different color. So you will going to see how this one it will work. On the other elephant, I'm going to use a different kind of colors. I will use a little bit of red, a little bit of orange. I'm going to move the colors. And remember, it has to be really, really, really light. So I'm going to continue here. So we're going to continue. We're going to continue in a different area. In the meantime, the other section is drying. So I'm going to start with this area. It will be the same process. You have to wet the section. It hasn't to be a puddle. Remember, just wet to move the watercolor, but you don't have to over wet it. So move the water, and I'm going to continue. So in this part, it will be the same process. We're going to place some watercolor and the watercolor of your preference. In this elephant, I'm going to use mostly um, purples and blues, but I will add a few other colors, but this one, it will be the main color on the big elephant. So place the colors, move the watercolor, and remember this layer, it will be really, really light. So I'm going to continue with the same process on this section I've just wet. Okay, so use the reference picture I'm going to leave here. On the reference picture, you have to see where you have the shadows. In that section, you have to apply a little bit more of watercolor. It hasn't to be so light. because this one it will help you to have some lights and shadow on the watercolor on the final project. we're going to start to work on the shadows. So use the reference picture I'm going to leave here. And on this case, on the big elephant, I'm going to use the navy blue so I can make the shadow a little bit more darker. For example, for the other elephant that is pink and orange, you can use, for example, a red or an orange combined with a little bit of red, or you can mix the colors so it will be a little bit more dark. In this case, I personally I would like to blend the shadow. Some they will like this the stains or that effect that the watercolor has. In my personal case, I like to blend. To blend the watercolor, you have to clean the brush with the clean water, and you have to dry it or remove the excess with the paper towel. And from the dry part, you're going to move the watercolor so it will combine the watercolor with the surrounding colors that you have. So move the watercolor to blend it, or you can leave the same. It's personal, it's your choice. So I'm going to continue doing the shadows. Um, and I will see you in a few seconds. In this part, I wasn't careful enough, and right now the other part, it was wet and it bleed a little bit on the other part of the ear. So with a paper towel, just dry it, and that's it. Well, so we are at the end of the first part. Thank you so much for watching, and we're going to continue on the next video so we can see how we can finish this illustration. Okay, bye bye.